Drew struggled with mental wellness, he took his own life in 2017.
That you're suffering with them, and then the cause of it is for all you guys going to be better and healthier together.
What we can do is sit and listen, be present, and for a story or a few stories that our vets are willing to share with us, go ahead and put that to music and express it in a way that only music can.
Mike, Clint, welcome to the Jedburgh podcast.
Thank you. Good to see you again, Fran.
Yeah, thanks for having us, man.
Well, Mike, it's been a while. Clint, this is the first time we're meeting, but I'm so fortunate to sit here, talk to you today. Mike, we connected back in September of last year of 2022 when I came out to Cleveland to experience Project D.R.E.W. And Project D.R.E.W, as so many of our guests and so many of our listeners know, is a really, really impactful event in which you're taking veterans and allowing them to tell their personal story by pairing them with songwriters. And it's all in honor of your cousin, Captain Drew Ferguson, who lost his life to his battle with mental health, former 10th Special Forces group operator like myself. And as I've said many times, I didn't know Drew personally, but I knew of him. We served at the exact same time. But now you've taken this honor a step further, and now it's a hero WOD. And I'm going to tell you right now, this workout sucks. Okay. Like 2-person teams, body armor for time, 800-meter run, then 13 rounds of 13 push press, 13 kettlebell swing, 13 burpees, 13 tire swings, and a buyout, not a buy-in. The buy-in was the run, but the buyout, okay, of a 500-meter sled push. That's a long way. Talk for a second about this workout. Talk about Drew. Why is it so important?
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, and I appreciate the opportunity to do so, Fran. This workout is it's probably been in the works in my mind for a few years now since we lost Drew, and that was summer 2017, and then certainly Project D.R.E.W, as you participated in, has been really special and humbling, and the people that we have met and connected with and have stayed in touch with have just been amazing, and something that we talk about with my cousin Drew. My cousin Brian, his brother, I'm still close with. Drew's military service was like the least interesting thing about him. So he was also an artist and a poet and a songwriter, but he was also big time into fitness, right? And so I think we'll get into the 13, significance of the 13 in a little bit. But Drew used to love to challenge himself, and as kind of as his older cousin, I was a little bit kind of an older brother figure to them. Man, he was a little bit height wise, a little bit shorter on the shorter side, but man, he had more heart than most folks that you'd meet. And he used to go and work out hard, and we used to joke around about make up our own version of Scottish games. Right? He was proud of his Scottish heritage. Let's go find a log and flip it over. How many times can you flip it? That kind of thing.
Who needs weights? You don't need weights.
You don't need weights. And so thinking as Project D.R.E.W got going in a couple years in the making, I was like, man, it'd be really cool to have something like a tribute to Drew from some kind of a workout. As I got involved in CrossFit and learned about hero WODs, I said, maybe we could do something here, with a hero WOD. And so I didn't actually become aware of or start into CrossFit until 2019. And that's when I met Clint and all the wonderful coaches at CrossFit Saol in Twinsburg, Ohio. And some of the members there make their own WODs, right? There's a few members there that throughout the year, certain dates, we do different WODs for their foundations, right? And I was like, man, this would be really neat. So Clint and I partnered together, and we put a few movements together I thought my cousin Drew would appreciate. And it's difficult, but it's doable. And, we tried it out. Last year was our first year, and so far so good. We'll do it every year in July.
Well, so Clint, you're a affiliate owner of a CrossFit box. How come you got involved in this? What was the draw? And when Mike came to you and said, "Hey, we want to get you involved. We want to host it in your gym," why?
Yeah, so Mike's been a member of mine for a while. He's with our 5:15 a.m. crew, so everyone shows up early, and it's like a big family together. So he's always
at that time, it has to be.
It's wild, man. There's like 25 people in there cracking jokes at each other, so it's a great time. But he's always been very supportive of me in the gym. And he brought it up to me. He knew the vision that he had for it. And I thought that just kind of hearing the journey of Drew and then kind of thinking about our members, we got about 200 members. Of the ones that are in the military, they could like tear a rotator cuff in the middle of a workout, not tell you anything about it, and keep going through it like the day is perfect. And you get to hear everyone else has like these little things going on, but to give the military people an opportunity to kind of tell their stories with Project Drew is pretty special. So I thought that was a pretty cool opportunity to get that word out a little bit more. And honestly, Mike's done all the heavy lifting for it, man. He's spreading the word like no one else, and he had a great vision for it. He presented me with a workout originally, and I was like, man, like a couple of these things seem a little bit dangerous with partner carries for 500 meters at the end of the workout, and these kind of
Yeah.
it was just long and brutal, and I kind of second guessed him in a couple areas, and then it kind of said, let's just see what happens. And it worked out really good. So Mike did a good job putting it all together. He really
All
thought
right.
it through.
So why this progression? Why the body armor? Why the run? Why the 13, the sled push? Why is it important, Mike?
Sure. I mean, and yeah, I will say Clint's being humble. He's I reeled Mike in here and there. I mean, he kept us from hurting people. I mean, I was like, hey, let's do a carry at the end, and now we're gonna have people falling. It's not good. So that's a
Yeah.
sled push, right?
Clint's like, my insurance only covers us up to so much.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, for starters, I knew when we wrote this that I knew I wanted to do a partner WOD, and that has significance with, as you mentioned earlier, Drew struggled with mental wellness, he took his own life in 2017. And I just wonder, had he found a community like CrossFit, and CrossFit Saol, and like at the barn, the barn with Project Drew, what might have been. Yeah. And so, that is symbolic for the WOD. It's symbolic of, nobody goes through the race alone. Nobody finishes the race alone. It's kind of like, I don't really care who you are, how fit you are physically. Everybody has something they're dealing with, and you can't, and you don't have to go through that alone. Right. And so there's the significance there. The movements then, the movements themselves, I just thought, okay, it might suck to do burpees with a weight vest, so let's give it a try. And I do remember years ago, before I had any idea what CrossFit was, I do remember that Drew would bring when he visited over the summers, he'd bring a kettlebell out. And I just like, oh, what the heck are you doing, man? He was into kettlebell swings, and then the push presses just seemed like a good movement to round out. And then the 13, right? So there's a lot of 13s throughout. That is a nod to a couple things. Drew applied to ROTC program when he was going to attend Ohio University. And the first time he applied, he got rejected. And if you know Drew, he was like, F that. Like, what? Found out what he had to do to get in, and applied himself and got accepted, right? And through physical fitness and academics and leadership and a variety of aspects that they're evaluated on, when Drew graduated among thousands of cadets that year, he finished 13th in the nation. So his buddies had found out about this when they were deployed together. Like, I got to find out who is this guy who's number 13. I got to meet this person. And they named him the 13th Warrior. And that 13 is echoed in our Project Drew logo with the drum and around Drew's artwork and his poem called My Drum. But the drum head's got like 12, looks like a clock, and it's got sticks at 1 p.m., 1300 hours. And so that's where the 13 comes from. And we thought we would echo that throughout the WOD.
You said something really important here. You said that you think that you wonder that if Drew had found CrossFit, and you talked about the community at 5 a.m. that you have right now in the gym, that maybe, just maybe, it could have been something that changed the outcome for Drew. We've done a lot this year on the Jedburgh podcast. Jesse Graff, my co-host for many of our episodes this year, has been involved in so many of our conversations around CrossFit. It started with Wadapalooza and going down to Miami in January and covering the progression of that event and being able to sit down and learn from some of the athletes like Shaylin Laurie, Jen Ryan, Nick Matthew, CrossFit Rookie of the Year in 2022. And then also finally culminate with sitting down with Don Fall, the CrossFit CEO, and talk about this community that's built, how mentally, emotionally, physically CrossFit brings you in. Don, at the conclusion of the ice bath that we challenged him to, was very kind. Actually, he did it before, but then he was pretty adamant after that we had to accept his challenge to Jesse and I to go get CrossFit level 1 trainer certified. And we did that in February, went out to San Diego, and CrossFit was kind enough to host us out there and put us through that course. I've been in CrossFit for a long time, a lot of time off, a lot of injuries because of it. And going to that course put me back into the world, rechanged my mindset. Something I wish I'd done, 15 years ago, because then I would have had the movements right and probably not endured a number of injuries. But it was a great opportunity to be immersed back into it. And then recently, and we're yet to release, but this July we'll start working through our Go Ruck Games series, where we incorporate a lot of the CrossFit functional fitness into the Go Ruck Games. And again, Jesse and I had a chance there in Jacksonville to sit down with Don again, and he put us through a pretty hellacious workout on Sunday morning, which I couldn't move for like a week. But Clint, talk about the importance of CrossFit when you bring people into the gym and you watch them change, not only physically, but emotionally and mentally as they embrace the community and they see progress. What does it do for you?
Yeah. I mean, for myself too, when I first started coaching and kind of getting into just being in front of people. So I guess I started as actuarial mathematics was my major. I really didn't have much confidence around just getting in front of people and talking or anything along those lines. But being part of the community, kind of getting better at those movements, suffering with them day in and day out, you kind of get to see that you're suffering with them, and then the cause of it is for all you guys kind of be better and healthier together. That it kind of removes that ego on its own and kind of gives you more confidence of like, why am I doing this? And now we get to see people come in, whether they're like 14-year-old girl, older guy who has never worked out before. Um, they get in, they meet people like Mike, and Mike will be like, hey man, where have you been? Hey, how are you doing? And they'll kind of walk them through the steps to get better and understand it better. And that kind of keeps them moving forward. So kind of seeing that journey of them kind of starting off hesitant to then really diving and being all in for it, and then living a healthier life from it too.
Mike, as someone who goes to the gym, right, and you're there every morning, you're embracing the community. How do you take people in? Because we hear about this a lot, right? People say, "Oh, well, I was there and I was laying on the ground." And I've talked about it a couple of times when at the trainer course, the level 1 trainer course, you do a workout, right, Clint? Day 1 and day 2. I was dead last. Absolutely dead last. And it was one of those situations where like on the first day, I hear everyone cheering like the last like minute, and I think like I can't see straight. I'm wheezing and I think like, oh, okay, man, I'm competing against somebody. And then everyone starts getting closer around me. And then I finish and I turn around and I like laying on the floor, realize that they're all there cheering for me. I happen to be the only one still going, but it's not an embarrassing moment. And so,
Right.
as somebody who's there and you're taking people into this community, how do you create that moment for somebody else?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I mean, I think fundamentally, I think it starts with awareness. I'll admit, when I first heard about CrossFit, my perception of what it was is completely different from what it actually is or what my experience has been. Right. So like I remember seeing videos or pictures of competitions, and it was like, okay, this is some super grueling exercise, and it's let's compete, and there's a whole bunch of people watching 1 or 2 athletes work out, and I'm like, I don't know if that's for me. I don't know if I. So there certainly are competitions, right? And since then, I've gotten into a couple of them, right? It's fun, but it's really, I think the biggest message is, it's scalable, and it is for you. I do believe fundamentally CrossFit is for everyone, because it's scalable. And when you have a coach like Clint who can take you through the movements, make sure that you're moving safely, injury prevention, and getting stronger, it really is for everybody. You have to scale things. I mean, right? You can. It's not useful to you to go and try to lift something too heavy too many times. Or if you succeed today, you could be on the path to injury, right? But I think after doing it for a few years now, I'm 47. I'm probably the fittest I've ever been, and I also have way more that I want to accomplish. And I think someone had said it in the gym, it's not an ego thing. Like, we have a fun banter, of course, and joke around with each other, but it's not an ego thing where who finished faster or lifted more. You're not competing with the guy next to you, the woman next to you. You're competing with you yesterday. And I kind of like that mentality. It's like, can I get better than I was yesterday?
Yeah. All the proceeds from the Drew's WOD go to Project Drew. Project Drew, it happens in Cleveland. We had a whole group of us who went out there in September, and I know I've recommended a few people over there since. A lot of people have reached out since watching the episode and have come over to Project Drew. I told you before we started that when I was getting ready to sit down with you today, I was listening to my song. I Press On, and it's something that I listen to about once a week. And it's an experience that we talk about being able to tell our story in a way that we've never thought about. And that's what Project Drew does for so many veterans. Is nobody ever sits there, a few people, right, and say like, wow, I'm going to sit down with a musician and I'm going to tell them my life story. And in 24 hours, they're going to come back to me having written a song that they're then going to stand up in front of a group and perform to me. We had a great group when I went of all my closest friends. And that was very important to me to experience that with a group of guys who I met, some of them the day that, within days of going into the Army. And I served my entire career with them in all different phases of my life and are still an important part of my life. Mm-hmm. And I felt like I knew a lot about these guys, but we all had different careers. And then to listen to each one of their songs in the concert and hear it presented back, I learned more about these guys than I ever knew that I would. And I would have never gotten out. If I could have sat there, we could have drank cases of beer and had conversations for days. And it never would have unpacked some of the things that were brought out through these songs. Why is Project Drew and the platform that you've created so important for veterans to be able to get out there and tell their story in a new and meaningful way?
Yeah, good question. I mean, so it is fundamentally about the connection, Fran. And while it's sort of ridiculous to think or to assume that our songwriters could sum up someone's life story in one song, right? Because you can't. What we can do is sit and listen and be present, and for a story or a few stories that our vets are willing to share with us, go ahead and put that to music and express it in a way that only music can, and make it really accessible. Like you just mentioned, the close group of you guys that knew each other for a long time, served together. There were things that you learned about them that you'd never heard of. Some of our vets say that, like, man, I've never shared that story with, I've been married 35 years. My wife doesn't know that story, or, something I've never talked about. Now there's a song that, on a Saturday morning over coffee, you don't have to be like, hey, let me I want to tell you about this one story. That can be difficult, if not prohibitive, to get into. But if the song is out there and it's just sort of a way to transfer it, make it available, people can listen to it and access it and go, man, I never knew. I love your song. Can you, when you're available to talk about it, I'd love to learn more about that mission or that firefight or the brotherhood you had, or the humorous, crazy, funny thing that happened. Because we hear stories of the whole gambit, right? And so I think it's fundamentally about the connection, and we just want our vets to know that they come to the barn not to do anything specifically. We're not asking them to come and grieve or come and do or be something or be on stage or be praised or any of those things. We just want to come and listen to their story, what they want to share with us, and stay connected with us.
So I feel like you need to incorporate Drew's WOD now into the Project Drew program.
Right. Yeah, all the way around. Everybody do exactly. Full circle, right?
For those who want, guess what we're going to do on the morning of day 2?
That's right. That'd be great. Get our songwriters into it too.
There you go. You take them down to Clint's gym and make it happen. So,
right on.
Guys, this is great. I mean, putting this workout together, this is a hellacious one. I told you, Mike, when you first reached out to me, you sent it to me and you said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Well, number one, I'm all in. I'm going to be down for about a week after this, but I'm down July 1st. We're going to get it done. I've already put my t-shirt order in for you guys, and I'm gonna put it on video over here from Connecticut. We won't be able to do it in person with you, but we got to get everybody involved. So what's the best way to get them involved?"
Yeah, sure. By all means. I mean, one thing is, I'll thank you again for helping us get the word out. Just what is this WOD? And we do it every July, partly because Drew's birthday is in July, and it's a good kind of summertime workout. And 4th of July weekend this year, a lot of people have like a 4-day weekend, so it's on Saturday, so you get your workout done and enjoy the rest of the weekend. But yeah, I mean, certainly in the credits or whatnot, I'm sure we could do websites and whatnot for CrossFit Saol and for Project Drew, and but really it's just letting people know what it's about and have them give it a shot. We'd love for affiliates or other gyms to pick it up.
Awesome. Well, we're gonna get the word out. We're gonna spread it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make sure that everybody on my team does it. And I think we're gonna play some of these songs in the background from my Project Drew experience, and we're gonna drive people back over to there. In addition to what I think is the best one, which is my song, "I Press On." I love Drew's song, "I Know a Place," and I think that I'm gonna make sure we close out this conversation with that too when we get this thing out of editing, because I think it's something that's uplifting. It brings you to a spot. It builds that community that we talk about so much with CrossFit, and it makes us at the end turn around, look at each other, and go, let's get after it. So after this, I have my WOD for today is calling my name, and I got to get after it too.
Right on. That's great, Fran.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Fran.
song. All right, thank you.
American Jedburghs went out to form the foundation of the United States Special Forces and the Special Activities Directorate of the Central Intelligence Agency. Thanks for listening to the Jedburgh Podcast. I'm your creator and host, Fran Racioppi. Join us next week for a new episode on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Check us out on YouTube for full episodes, highlights, and other behind-the-scenes content. If you like what you heard, give us a like and leave a review. Follow me, Fran Racioppi, Talent War Group, and our sponsor Jersey Mike Subs on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. Send your comments and inquiries to media@talentwargroup.com. As a former member of Special Forces, the Jedburgh Podcast donates a percentage of all proceeds to the Green Beret Foundation, supporting America's Special Forces and their families. Thanks for joining us on this episode. How you prepare today determines success tomorrow.